Hi friends, I'm Siobhan McDonald from Granger Street Studios. I'm so glad you could join me today. Let's get started with our program. Today, our theme is sunflowers. According to Greek mythology, the water nymph Clytie fell in love with the god of the sun, Apollo, who dazzled the earth as he drove his golden chariot across the sky each day. But when he rejected Clytie's affection, it nearly drove her mad. She spent days without food or water as she searched the heavens and waited for Apollo to appear. In the end, she was transformed into a sunflower. The sunflowers are actually native to North America. They weren't found in antiquity in either Greece or Italy, so it would have been impossible for the ancient Greek and Roman authors to have included them in their myths. Somehow, this bit of folklore passed on to us today. They would not have known about them and their sun-turning properties, but the ancient Greeks and Romans did have these pretty flowers that you're seeing on the left. That's heliotrope, which also turn towards the sun. Speaking of happy sunny things, I want to thank AgeSpan for hosting us every month and making sure this program gets delivered to you. They connect people of all ages and abilities with information and services to help them lead fulfilling lives in the community. And we're also so thankful to award-winning Right at Home Boston and North for sponsoring this program. With over 20 years of providing home care services, their proven professionalism, caring, and commitment continues to help people live their best lives in all of our communities. Native Americans saw sunflowers as a symbol of courage. Warriors would carry sunflower cakes to battle with them, or a hunter would sprinkle sunflower powder on his clothing to keep his spirits up. Some natives called sunflowers the fourth sister, in reference to the other three sisters, corn, bean, and squash. On the left here, you see a picture of a Sioux warrior named Sunflower, along with a more recently painted mural on the right, showing Native communities' continued respect of the sunflower. The sunflower was very significant to the Lakota people. At one time, they all wore it upon their chest as a medallion during their sun dance. They respected the sunflower for its endurance. Sunflowers can also symbolize adoration and loyalty, happiness and warmth, prosperity and good fortune. And who doesn't want all that? Indigenous people in North America began growing them as early as 3,000 years before the Common Era. They weren't just admired for their beauty, though. Sunflowers were an essential crop. Some archaeologists suggest that sunflowers may have been domesticated even before corn. The seeds were eaten raw, roasted, or ground into flour, and the oil was used for cooking and skincare. And the pigments made from sunflowers were used to add color to pottery, like what you're seeing on the right. Do you like to eat sunflower seeds? Because sunflowers grew rapidly to great heights, often up to 12 feet, Indians could also use the stalks for building materials. During cold winters, they and also early pioneer settlers often burned dry sunflower stalks as fuel to keep warm. The sunflower was introduced to Europe by the Spanish around the year 1500. And when Europeans got hold of the sunflower, they originally bred it as a decorative item, not as a food item. Check out these beautiful doors and a facade in Ukraine. Sunflowers are commonly found in the countryside of Ukraine, where they've been grown since the mid-18th century. Actually, Ukraine is the world's largest source of sunflower oil. When Europeans planted sunflowers from American seeds, the flower found its way into paintings. It was favored by the Sun Kings, Charles I of England and Louis XIV of France. Louis XIV claimed the sunflower as his symbol. Many paintings of French royalty and those associated with royalty at the time featured sunflowers in their clothing or around their environment. And check out this clock on the right. This sold for $26,000 a few years ago. In this Dutch painting from 1663, we see a young boy blowing bubbles in a shell full of soap suds. Notice the sunflower over his shoulder. Many paintings of French royalty and those associated with royalty at the time feature sunflowers. Madame de Montespan was a French noblewoman and the most celebrated royal mistress of King Louis XIV. She was sometimes called the true Queen of France as she had so much influence upon the court. I love the sunflowers in the background here. I actually bought myself a sunflower dress this year. I don't have a picture of myself wearing it, but I do have some other pretty and unique sunflower clothing items I want to show you. Here's a head turner. To celebrate the launch of a new daily route on the train from London to Amsterdam, Eurostar unveiled a specially commissioned gown made entirely from sunflowers. And can you imagine if you wore this dress to lunch? There are many beautiful sunflower bridal gowns. I love that one in the middle. Sunflower clothing is actually not hard to find. Sweaters and jackets, sneakers and t-shirts, but especially hats. Between 1700 and 1800, sunflowers fell out of fashion in Europe as decorative plants, and they were mainly cultivated for seeds, fibers, dyes, and medicines. And then during the 18th century, the Orthodox Church issued a dictate for the period of Lent, which banned the consumption of food made from various oils and fats. To help churchgoers adhere to the rule, the Orthodoxy published a list of banned substances, and basically the church was saying these items should be giving up. And along with that were things like butter and vegetable oils and olive oil. However, it omitted sunflower oil from the list. So demand for the oil boomed, and in stepped Russia and Ukraine with a huge crop in the early 1800s. This led to the breeding of one of the most recognizable varieties of sunflowers created, the mammoth Russian. The record for the tallest sunflower grown is 30 feet high. Wow. Today, sunflowers are a key component of the Ukrainian economy, with Ukraine and Russia contributing upwards of 80% of global sunflower oil exports. The flowers are abundant across Ukrainian villages, gardens, and fields. People wear sunflowers as woven decorations and clothes and wear them as headdresses during celebrations. Let's watch a 2-minute video together of a growing sunflower. Here's a time lapse. Wasn't that just incredible? Sunflowers rose to favor again in the late 19th century, led by fashionable figures in the art and literary world who popularized the sunflower as one of their main design motifs. In this painting, we see Oscar Wilde surrounded by women in flowing robes, one wearing a sunflower, here symbolizing female longing and hopeless love. The manufacture of paint in tubes and vibrant new pigments that were available in the mid to late 1800s came with new opportunities for artists. Claude Monet and Frederick William Frohock jumped at the chance to paint the glorious sunflower once again. But I think these are the sunflower paintings we all know best. Sunflowers is the title of two series of still life paintings by the Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh. The first series, which was executed in Paris in 1887, depicts the flowers lying on the ground. Isn't it incredible how thick that paint is, how rich? While the second set, made a year later, shows a bouquet of sunflowers in a vase. On the right, you can see someone at the museum hanging one of the sunflower paintings, just so you can get an idea of the scale and size of this. Here are some more sunflowers by Van Gogh for your viewing pleasure. Van Gogh actually made 7 paintings of sunflowers in vases. In 1987, this Van Gogh sunflower painting sold for almost $40 million. It now hangs in a modern art museum in Tokyo. It would certainly be worth several hundred million today. Now, just like other artists who were working at the time, Vincent van Gogh made flower still lifes of many types, but he did things a little differently. After practicing with different flowers, he chose a specific variety, the sunflower. His fellow painters, they thought that sunflowers were perhaps somewhat coarse and unrefined, but this is exactly what Vincent liked, and he also enjoyed painting flowers that had gone to seed. He gave sunflowers the lead role in several paintings. Van Gogh's friend, the painter Paul Gauguin, said sunflowers were unequivocally Vincent. Here is a painting Gauguin made of Van Gogh. Briefly, between 1886 and 1889, the flower became the artist's signature. In a letter to his brother Theo, Van Gogh wrote, "The sunflower is mine." Today, the sunflower continues to fascinate and inspire artists. Sunflower Seeds is an art installation created by contemporary Chinese artist and political activist Ai Weiwei. It was first exhibited at the Tate Modern Art Gallery in London in 2010. The work consisted of 100 million individually handcrafted porcelain sunflower seeds, which filled the gallery's huge hall to a depth of 4 inches. Here's a close-up of what the seeds looked like. Aren't these incredible? It's hard to believe they're not real seeds, but they are made of porcelain and hand-painted. Visitors were encouraged to touch and even walk on the 100 million handcrafted porcelain sunflower seeds. By the way, the process of crafting those took more than 2.5 years, and there were 1,600 workers involved. They did this work in Jindazhen, a town known as the porcelain capital in China that has produced the imperial porcelain for over 1,000 years. So there was a real particular historical significance to this project. Unfortunately, the movement of the crowds released a greater than expected level of ceramic dust. This dust could be damaging to health. Following repeated inhalation over a long period of time. Now you can imagine if somebody was just visiting the museum for an hour or two, that wouldn't be a problem. but for the workers at the museum, this would definitely be an issue. The reason that the seeds kicked up dust is that the tiny porcelain sculptures were not glazed. A glaze would have proven too slippery for the installation. So as a result of the issue, the museum, in consultation with the artist, decided not to allow visitors to walk across the sculpture. Since that time, smaller collections of the seeds have been exhibited in museums and galleries around the world. A few years ago, this piece, which was about 220 pounds of seeds, which had been displayed in a gallery, came up for auction. They sold for $560,000. In case you're wondering, that's about $5.60 per seed. Now it's time for a few fun facts. Sunflowers can actually help clean the world. They have a remarkable ability to absorb toxins, including toxic metals and radiation. Following nuclear disasters, scientists planted millions of sunflowers to help the land recover. And they've also been planted in areas with high concentrations of lead. Wow, that's incredible. A sunflower head can contain up to 2,000 seeds. That's a lot of snacking. Kansas is often known as the sunflower state, and the flower is, in fact, Kansas's state flower. Hopi people traditionally use the seeds of a particular type of sunflower to create a dark purple dye to color their baskets. This heirloom variety is now sold under the name Hopi Black Dye Sunflower or the Hopi Dye Sunflower. I might try growing some of those next summer. I'll have to let you know how it works out. Here in New England, we love our sunflowers, don't we? This is a picture from a farm in Newbury, Massachusetts. But there are actually sunflowers growing all over the country, and almost every state has a sunflower festival. Believe me, no one is more surprised than me just how much there is to learn and talk about sunflowers. I hope you enjoyed our time together as much as I did. Thank you for joining me today for our program about sunflowers. I'll look forward to seeing you again next month with a new theme, some new fun facts, and some more art and culture. Until then, I'm Siobhan McDonald from Granger Street Studios, wishing you the very best of your week ahead. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. Goodbye, my friends. I'll see you soon.